All right, peace, peace, peace. What up? First and foremost, man, hopefully the Most High in your house shall is blessing your day. By His mercies, you are consumed. We're alive, and the Most High in your house shall body. And two, I wanna say this because honestly, um, yeah, because I was talking about this with my mom the other day. The fact that, you know, a lot of times, especially like, and I understand that. Well, depending on how you was raised and like, 'cause, because here I noticed this, right? That's why the scripture is talking about being poor, but you're rich in faith. A lot like being poor is synonymous being like faithful. Now, don't get twisted, because there was a lot of rich men that were faithful to the Most High house. I had like Abraham was rich, and like you know who the faithful Abraham, even like Joseph or Jacob, Isaac, Jacob, like David, like Solomon, of course, man, the richest man ever walked the earth. But how big his faith was and how great of a man he was, and like rich, and even all that stuff is like that is all that stuff is of the Lord too. Because remember what Sirach said, listen, we're rich or poor, all that stuff is of the Lord. So, but but the whole parable with Yahushua, with Christ, with Yahushua, is with the rich man, it was the more the love of money. Honestly, it was a lot of things with that, and also his faith got tested as well. But I want to say this as well. But I noticed this in my lifetime too. When a lot of times too, when mostly times like because people show love in different ways, but most of the time when people that came from pretty much affluent, not even I don't want to say rich, or like stable homes with two parents, and they had everything covered. And then I'm saying for the most part, there are some people and families, I'm pretty sure y'all brothers and sisters met, and that I met, even still to this day, they still raise them in morals and stuff like that, and principles, But I notice a lot of times that a lot of those things, like when people grow up like that, because let me say this too, Steph Curry's story is just as good as LeBron's story, because because a lot of our people, we like that struggle story and things, and there's no wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with actually having like the Steph Curry story as well. That's why I love 2 years ago the Super Bowl, like the first time Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, Eagles and Chiefs Super Bowl, because they didn't focus on that struggle type of thing. But because you know why? Because both of them had like stable household, both of them had their fathers in their lives, so, and they didn't have that that struggle story. But that's neither here nor there. So there's nothing wrong with that as well. Let me say that. But I want to say as well, because I noticed a lot of times too. But those that came from that, a lot of times there's stuff that's missing from their morals and principles, principle wise. There's a lot of times they have trouble but having compassion, or certain principles, things of that nature, because they always had kind of everything. But but sometimes their parents they forgot about that part, about instilling things in them. Not all of them, but this during my lifetime, I noticed that it's but a lot of times when you when a lot of times when you come without, though, it's that factor of love that was there. Listen, we ain't had much, but we just had each other, and it's not and both is not wrong. Both is not wrong, but I noticed that. But most of the time, those that were raised probably some of you brothers and sisters, and like myself, we vibe, I vibe. I had kindred spirits with those people a lot of times too. Not all, but because we know how it goes without. But that house is filled with love, and that's how even growing up, even my mom's house was like that, man. Because even though my mom, compared to all my other aunts, except for one of my aunts, but compared to some of my other aunts, they had pretty much good houses and things of that nature. But my mom's house, not to brag or boast, but my mom's house, everybody, all my cousins and parents to say, no, I was gonna say my mom's name, but my mom's house is the fun house, because why? It was love there. We laughed together, we cried together. It was stuff like that. So I'm just and I'm saying that if you come from that, an affluent, come from that, there can't be love there, but that stuff taken care of, because two things can be true, it can happen. But I'm just saying that it's just something I noticed throughout my lifetime, but I will say too, with that, because those that are without, really, that's why Jay-Z said on Song Cry, when he's talking about if y'all ever heard it on the Blueprint, he said, man, when we were poor, like things was good when we was poor, man. When we got rich, like what was he saying in that? He said pretty much saying like, you know, when we were poor though, we actually closer because we all had each other. But once that money started kicking in, then that covetousness kicks in, then that greed kicks in, and that lust kicks in. And you know, you can lust for different things, but that stuff kicked in, man. It's like, you know, then, but you know, but having a lot of times like, you know, going without me, you had that love without dissimulation there, man. Because, you know, it is what it is, man. So, but I want to say this too as well, man, because we gotta even our people too. Because listen, I don't have children, but that's why I know too, especially with this generation. Like it kind of happened with my generation, but it kind of started leaving my generation. Even I won't say that my mom's and parents' generation, but y'all brothers, sisters. I won't say that, but it kind of started my mom's and my, like, you know, my parents' generation. I mean, our generation, like around my age, and like, you know, after that, and we seen it now. We kind of gotta stop, like, you know, this with this whole thing. Shout out to the brother sent me the first one too by saying this, because he like, you know, like he said, man, perfectly stated. We gotta stop, like, you know, saying like, you know, okay, we're gonna give our children, like, no, if it's in your means to do it, then fine, it's all good. But make sure more importantly, like, you know, you raise them with like principles and morals and values, man, because like, you know, more importantly with the word, like Joel says, like, you know, pass the word down. That's the most important thing. Forget all that, like, you know, all that stuff is cool, like that financial, like, you know, literacy, that have generational wealth thing and land, all that's cool, but more importantly the word, even if you outside the word, like, you know, principles and values, things of that nature. But hold on, yo. Yeah, but even more importantly, yeah, man, even more importantly, instill them that, because, like, you know, because it's kind of like, you know, I mean, listen, man, that we, a lot of times, most of us get everything we want when we no, man, and that's fine, that's okay, because, like, most of the time, even when we did, like, you know, this, like, my mom said, she was talking to my aunt one time, I was talking to my mom about this. It's like, I don't remember, like, most of the time I got from, like, growing up, what I got for Christmas. There might be a few things I remember, or a few trips and stuff like that we remember. Like, some stuff I do remember, things of that nature, but, like, you know, at most, honestly, a trip to a theme park, to Dorney Park or Six Flags, that was the standard. And that, like, you know, but that's, like, you know, compared to this generation now, oh, man, that's like, you know, they, oh my gosh, like, you know, you go there, they still complain about that. So, like, you know, that's just is what it is. And that's another story for another day, because like with the camp, I was just, like, you know, was at, man, we kind of wrapped up day. It was the last day, but, you know, me and my coworker, man, we was like, man, when we was younger, man, we knew how to make stuff fun, man. We knew how to make, even though we didn't have anything. But see, that goes back into what we're talking about, because, like, you know, you can't, like, you know, you can't do that and try to live vicariously through them, all the stuff you never had. Like, you know, that's cool if you can do it, but also more importantly, instill principles and values and morals in them. Like, because many times, more importantly, I'm sure you're pretty sure you brothers and sisters do know that. Feel this way. And you know, I can speak for this myself. But most of the time, we remember those talks we had with our fathers and mothers, or uncles, aunts, grandfathers, grandmothers, or loved ones, or, like, you know, the elders on the block, OGs around the way, or the older women. We remember those talks and that advice and that wisdom, that counsel they gave us, rather than, like, you know, more of the stuff. Like, the stuff is cool, but I just remember the talks and advice that my dad, my mom still told me, my grandpa still told me, my nana, my all that stuff. You remember that more than, like, you know, the stuff. Like, you know, all that's cool, but, you know, that stuff stays with you for a lifetime. Even old teachers, even, like, you know, like every category we just mentioned, man. So we kind of gotta stop trying to, like, you know, saying giving them what we saying we was giving them though we never had. Like, no, that's like, listen, they go without. All right, man. Like, excuse my language. All right, nigga, you just went without. That's cool. Like, you know, so that's just yeah, man, that's just what it is, though. Because I know that's something that's plaguing, you know, our people. And honestly, now I'm not saying if you had the means to do it, like, you know, go financially take a trip, or, like, you know, do financially give them something that you never had growing up. But fine, but, you know, but see, that's why the kind of what Paul says, that's childish. You know, when I was a child, put away childish things as well, because that's like, all right, cool. I didn't get as far as materialistically, like, you know, I never got, but, like, you know, even sometimes, even listen, if you never even had, a lot of our people never had that even before the word, like, you know, more importantly, even though, like, we wasn't, like, now I know, but most of us, even myself, we wasn't raised in the word, or understand, raised in the knowledge, of course, but even with that, even without, even, like, outside the word, we wasn't, like, you know, a lot of us wasn't they didn't have certain like morals or principles and things instilled with us, and without, and didn't have a lot, and still grew up in poverty. So that's something you kind of have have to have compassion and understanding and long suffering with people on. But even if you had that, we didn't have what what you wanted growing up, as far as materialistic things, right? As far as luxuries and things of that nature, man. I still remember those talks that and the advice and the experiences, man. More importantly, man. But my point is that, not to be long-winded, but we kind of got to stop that, living vicariously through them. Because it's gonna breed. Because you know what it does? It breeds entitlement, man. It breeds an entitled mentality that a lot of this younger generation has, and it's not good. Because and not all of them do. Because I ran into several children and teenagers and those that they don't have that. Some of them come from a good stable house. Some don't. But you could tell. But I noticed a lot of times too. They have older parents. Their parents are kind of mid 30s and 40s and things of that nature. But that's another thing with this. That's another story for another day. But yeah, man, I don't want to get into that, man, because kind of living vicariously through our children, through the youth, man. Because as far as materialistic things, we never had this, so I'm gonna give them this and stuff like that. This stuff I never had. So I mean, that's cool and all, but it's okay. Who are they? If you sure, because that's all the word said. Listen, all that stuff could be going tomorrow, and So what else would they have, man? Because when real life kicks in, something. If they were to lose it all, what is it? Do we have? Did one? That's why it's so important to come to the word, because you had the Most High in your house, you had the Most High in the Son, or or even outside the word, even though I'm not. Even or do you have the mental strength to deal with it, man? It's not easy, man, because I still go through that, even still, man. So, well, I get it, but that's another balance thing, because you are human, so that's having a human reaction to stress and trials and tribulations. That's cool. I mean, that's natural, but but I'm saying more than entitled, the world is against me, victim mentality, or somebody owes me something. That's kind of what this, giving them, our children what we never had. That's kind of what breeds this. So, that's just is what it is. And I'm not meaning on the generational warfare type of thing, on that going against my parents' generation, our generation against these. No, I'm not doing that. I'm saying it's a cycle that needs to kind of stop. Because don't get twisted. Because I was talking to my mom, and I'm pretty sure your brothers and sisters can relate. Because my generation said it kind of started with that, but it's still I had that old school type of parents, man. So and people's loved ones around me to raise me, the elders, and even OGs or even older people around my family and myself. I'm pretty sure y'all brothers and sisters did as well. But now it's kind of getting worse and worse, and that's all due to prophecy, of course. But I just wanted to say that, man, because that's something I noticed.